Solid Foundations. I'm your host, Steve Matley. We are coming to you on KCAA 1050 AM all over Southern California. If you miss us live, don't forget to catch us on the rebroadcast that is on KCAA archives, or better yet, you can see the full video on our streaming services. Building Solid Foundations channel is a free channel on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Android app. Download that. There's a lot of other great shows on there too. Today, as a matter of fact, we are talking to a big part of what makes Building Solid Foundations as a show possible. So for those of you that don't know, this is not broadcast out of the KCAA studios in Loma Linda because I don't live close to Loma Linda. I live further south, so I broadcast out of North San Diego County in Vista, and I broadcast out of North County Media Center. And today our guest is Joel Fieri. He is the owner of North County Media Center. Joel is a real estate investor and owner and president of North County Media Center. He's a graduate of San Diego State University. Go Aztecs for you Aztec fans out there.
Absolutely.
He's a longtime real estate investor, businessman, educator, podcaster, and a TV film producer. In the 35 years plus of real estate investing, Joel has bought and sold numerous residential and commercial buildings in Southern California and in Arizona, so very similar to my background there. He also has experience in the business world as well as 15 years teaching at the secondary level, which is high school level. Is that correct?
High school, junior high, right.
Okay, so I've taught at the university and college level. I've never been brave enough to dip my toe into the junior high or high
or
school
smart
area.
enough, whichever way you want to look at it.
And so the background has enabled Joel to bring entrepreneurial and business experience to the leadership of North County Media Center since it opened in 2012. So Joel, welcome to Building Solid Foundations. Great to have you.
Steve, thanks for having me. Good to be here. Glad to have you here at North County Media Center too.
Right, and Joel's a big part of a lot of the shows here on KCAA because a lot of them got their birth here. Finest Women in Real Estate and Real Men of Real Estate and The Business Doctor and other shows like that that show up on the streaming app or show up on KCAA. A lot of them started here at North County Media Center before evolving into other things. So Joel, you started off in real estate. How long ago? How long did you get into real estate?
I started out in real estate in 1984. As a 24-year-old, I had recently graduated from San Diego State, and I started out in Santa Ana in Orange County. And my dad and I.
A great time to be in Orange County.
It was, yes, but you didn't think so at the time.
Well, you never think today is the best time.
No.
It's only looking back where you realize, gosh, what a great opportunity that was.
Yeah, and and especially at 24 years old, you think you know everything, right? I was considerably smarter when I was 24 than I.
Yeah, that's kind of that sophomoric mentality we
Exactly.
get, right? We think we know everything, but we don't know enough to know we don't know everything.
Exactly.
Mark Twain said, the older he got, the smarter his dad became.
Yeah, was it Mark Twain? Because I go by that.
Yes.
A lot of things. Exactly, a lot of things my dad told me back then.
When he was a teenager, his dad was the biggest idiot in the world.
Yeah,
and as he got older, he realized he keeps getting wiser.
No, it's true. And so I bought a one-bedroom condo in Santa Ana, 1984. Okay. And I lived in it for a while, and then I made one of the classic mistakes. I let someone in my family manage it for me when I moved back to San Diego. So that was, like I said, you learn from your mistakes, right?
That's right.
And, business is that way. And there are certain mistakes you make in real estate that people with experience will tell you to never do, but sometimes you just have to make them yourself.
The family thing is weird because, yes, there are a lot of times that doesn't work out. And not only does it hurt your business, it destroys relationships in the process.
It's a double whammy, yes.
But every once in a while you run across something where there's these sibling or parent and child acts that work really, really well together. Husband and wife acts that work really well, right?
Yeah.
And actually, they're the exception to the rule.
Yeah, but actually we did have, in another arena, we did have that kind of setup that did work really well in the commercial end of my dad's business with his buildings and stuff. But so right around that time, he set up that too. In his commercial buildings, he owned a plastic manufacturing company in Anaheim.
Okay.
And he set all us up on the board, that kind of, how you do that kind of thing. And but for my own personal investing, I started out with a one-bedroom condo. 5 years later, I sold it and learned about something called a 1031 exchange, which I did not know anything about. But when I did realize quite a good capital gain, I bought it for somewhere around $50,000, sold it for somewhere around $75,000.
Yeah, we always refer to that as the swap till you drop program.
Yes.
Because once you start, you can't stop. And so for the listeners out there that don't know what that is, 1031 exchange, what it does, it allows you to take real estate that you own as an investment, not your personal house, but as an investment. And instead of selling it, taking the money and having to pay the taxes on that profit and then redeploying it to something else, the government will allow you to take the full amount without paying the taxes and trade it into another property of equal or greater value. And generally the debt percentage has to kind of stay roughly the same. Otherwise, if you have debt forgiveness, that's considered income and you have to pay taxes on that too. So it gets all complicated, and I'm not a CPA or a 1031 facilitator, but I know enough about it to understand what it is. But that's what that is.
Just think about it though. That's section 1031 of whatever
the
code.
IRS code.
Of the IRS code, yes.
Yeah. And so what happens is once you do that, the idea is you never pay taxes. It's not forgiveness. It's deferment. And so what happens is at some point when you sell the property at the very end, all the taxes for all the profit that you have accumulated is now due.
At square one.
And that's why we call it swap to your drop. You start it, and every time you change properties, you have to keep exchange again, and avoid those taxes.
Right.
And the only way out of that is when you pass on, you have the one-time exemption when you pass it to your kids. That's pretty much it. That's it.
Pretty much it, yeah. And I do know people who have gotten out of it and just taken the tax hit. Because they're in that financial situation.
If that works, and sometimes if you're in a pinch and it's that or live in a box under a bridge, then you do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that was a little side trail there. I just want to make sure the listeners knew what we're talking about.
But it is a big part of real estate.
Well, speaking of tax, before you go on real quick, because you're in 1984, the Tax Reform Act of 1986, I believe, is what came out. It changed a lot of real estate. Did that affect you at all? Because a lot of developers lost everything. In the late 80s, early 90s, there was a downturn. And a lot of it was because that Tax Reform Act took all their strategies just got melted away.
Well, no, I don't know if it was from that act, but I do know that the one time I lost money in my real estate transactions was late 80s, early 90s, where there was a big, gigantic...
That's when the savings and loans all collapsed, right?
Right.
And all that was kind of tied to that Tax Reform Act. It changed all the rules. And when you're in real estate and you've got a long-term plan and they change the rules on you, all of a sudden, it really fouls things up.
Yeah.
Exactly. I was wondering if that timing affected anything.
Property I exchanged into from that original property, when I sold it and exchanged to another, I got in some problems with the buyers. You know, a lot of times people will make an offer and let's call failure to perform. They won't be able to get their loan or whatever it is. So we had a couple situations like that where that happened right at the point where there was a big downturn. So I lost one deal where I lost a lot of money.
Okay.
And it's really the only time, because this is California real estate, let's be real. California real estate is about getting in and giving it time.
Holding it. So the strategy is
you have to think long term.
There's certain markets. So West Coast, Arizona, Florida, places like that, and Texas right now. So it's like Southern California. If you look at the long-term trend, Southern California real estate's doubled in value about every 15 years, like clockwork since the end of World War II. Okay. But in between that 15 years, it's all over the place.
Yes.
So if you're trying to day trade kind of real estate, if you're trying to buy low, sell high strategy, that's a dicey proposition.
Yeah.
And you can get stuck, like you said. But if you buy it and sit on it, hatch it like an egg for your whole life, then it'll do pretty well.
Yeah, and you will have one or in that long term, like I guess in a couple of years, it'll be 40 years I've been doing this. You're bound to have one or two ill-timed
if you hold on to long enough, though. So if I bought it high in the market, let's say in 2005, right? I buy a high point in the market and then everything hits the dumper. If I'm able to hold on to that, which is the trick, because if I'm renting it out and all the renters go away because they're moving out and they lost their jobs or whatever, then I got a problem. But if I can handle that, if I can cover that and make it work, I don't have too much debt killing me on it. You know, or I get renters in there that are performing. If I can do that and weather that storm, it'll go through the downturn, come back up, and the next high in the market's higher than the last high. Or if I buy it low in the market and everything goes up and then it drops again, the next low in the market is higher than the last low.
And really, if you do hold on to it, the only time it's worth what they say it's worth is when you sell it at that point. It's only when you sell that you find out how much your property is worth at that point in time. Because you're right, it's been a slow, say it would be a steady growth with but like you said, up and downs in between. But the general curve is up, or the general line is up.
Right. And an appraisal will give you a decent idea, but an appraisal is not the same as a seller agreeing to what they'll take and a buyer agreeing to what they'll spend, because that is exactly what determines the value of a real estate.
Well, yeah, and it's funny. My big story is that right around, you mentioned 2005, right around 2004, 2005, my real estate had gone sky high. I had bought a house in Mission Bay, overlooking Mission Bay in San Diego, right at the right 1996, and when I bought it in 1996, I bought it for like $225,000. I thought, there's no way it could possibly go any higher. There's no way someone's going to spend $250,000 for their
doghouse there now for that price.
Tell me about it. Well, 5 years later, it was considerably more than that.
Oh yeah.
And I know you were talking about, as long as you have the same debt service or debt level, but I looked at those mortgage interest statements and those buyer information statements. You get them with cars, and you also get them with houses. On it, here's the price you paid, here's the amount you borrowed, here's the interest on that, and that last column is how much you're actually going to pay. And so I thought, wait a minute, that's a pretty outrageous number. And I looked at how much debt I had, and I mean the amount of my properties was this number. Yeah. The amount of debt was that number, and I was basically, someone looked at me and said, "Oh, you're a millionaire now." I'm like, "No, I'm not." On paper, yeah. I said, "But that number of how much my property's worth, that's not real. That number of where it says how much I owe, that's real." So So
with that, I'm going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to finish up that story.
I will finish it up.
Because that's got we left you hanging on the cliffhanger on that one.
There you go.
All right, so this is Building Solid Foundations. I'm your host, Steve Matley. We're talking to Joe Fieri. He's talking about his foray into the real estate world in the mid-'80s. We'll be right back after this short break.
Fire Up Connect is the most innovative business networking group, supporting and collaborating with a dozen of small businesses that are interested in building and establishing strong business connections, hosting educational live seminars while carrying out business and community-driven projects, as well as marketing programs as a part of its membership program. Fire Up Connect also offers virtual assistance with a wide range of services, including inbound customer support, chat support, appointment setting and email management, graphic designing, video editing, web design and development, social media marketing, e-commerce solution, content writing, and much more. For more information, head on over to www.fireupconnect.com. Fire Up Connect, helping success stories unfold every day.
Real Men of Real Estate.
Men of Real Estate radio show here on KCAA.
Most mortgages can be purchased.
All of us want to live in thriving communities.
Basically, go to the radio station, KCAAradio.com.
You can find us on your dial at 102.3 FM, 1050 AM, as well as 106.5 FM.
This is Steve Matley. Join me every Thursday at 3 p.m. right here on KCAA for Building Solid Foundations radio talk show. I spent decades as a professional construction manager, business owner, real estate developer, and a college educator, and I enjoy learning new things from other people. We talk a lot about real estate, business, and finance, but we cover a diverse range of other topics as well. Some of the topics we've discussed in the past few months include real estate investing, leadership, higher education, ADUs, marketing using technology, multifamily rental properties, business strategy, entrepreneurship. You never know who may show up or what they may talk about. So join us right here on KCAA for Building Solid Foundations Radio.
Hi, this is Jim McLaughlin with Effective Action Consulting, and I've been a member of Fire Up Connect for, probably 3 years now. And what I really like about Fire Up Connect is the unique model that we go through, that we follow, the agenda, so to speak, in the meeting that really has us get engaged and involved with each other in the meetings. It's not that we're individuals, it's that we're all really working together to better ourselves, our businesses, and the community through the projects that we work on. So I'm really grateful to have the opportunity to network with people in this environment, and it's really impacted my business in a big way. So take a look.
Welcome back to Building Solid Foundations. I'm your host, Steve Matley. We are talking today with Joel Fieri. He is a real estate investor, and he is the owner and president of North County Media Center as well. Before the break, Joel was giving us a little background starting in the 80s, and then we kind of fast forwarded to the market in the early 2000s, and he was relaying his story of buying some San Diego Bayview real estate that he thought $250,000 was the highest it would ever go, and then learned pretty quickly. And before the break, Joel, you were talking about the difference between people saying your house is worth, let's say at this time, $750,000, $1 million, so you're a millionaire on
Right.
paper, but there's also the debt. And you were kind of talking about, okay, so the assumed value, appraised value of my house is a kind of a fiction. It's what we
Right.
think it is. It's an assumed. But the loan that's due on it, the debt, is a real deal.
Yes.
All right, so let's move forward with that story.
Right. So, as I mentioned earlier, also mentioned that our family had a family kind of association on my dad's business properties. Well, about that time, I was saying before, I saw what my houses supposedly were worth, and then I saw what my debt was, and the difference, supposedly made me almost a millionaire. And I thought, that's not true, because if that number of what my house is worth can go up or down,
That's right.
but that debt is not going down.
It's only going down to the level that you incrementally pay it
You're
off.
right.
That's right.
And it was I tell you, it was $2.5 million. And I said, I don't want to owe $2.5 million to anybody.
Right.
So I thought, well,
Now, how much of that was interest and how much of that was
that's another
actual
thing,
money
because
in the property?
I had mentioned I also got the mortgage interest statement from my bank, and the amount of interest I paid was, let's say, about $110,000 or whatever.
Right.
And of course, you have the mortgage interest deduction on that from your taxes, right?
Right.
But I called my accountant and I said, wait a minute, how much, by taking this $100,000 deduction, how much taxes am I saving? He said, I don't know, I forget what he said, say it was $25,000.
Okay,
You're
so
saving
25% of it.
Save 25%. I said, so let me get this straight. I'm paying the bank $100,000 to avoid paying the government $25,000?
Yeah, but that's what they sell you is, you have to have a mortgage
Oh, yeah,
because you
and
get the tax deduction.
That's what my accountant said. I said, I would rather pay the government, as much as I dislike that, $25,000 than pay my bank $100,000. I'm out $75,000 here.
It's hard to make an argument over which is the more worthy party to give your money to,
I know.
honestly.
Honestly, it is. What's the lesser of two evils? So combined with that, with the amount of debt I had, I thought what I decided to do was, I'm a kind of a disciple of Dave Ramsey. I don't know
Okay,
if
yeah,
you
no,
know.
yes.
And he talks about
He's a debt-free living kind of guy.
debt-free living kind of guy. And he always acknowledges it's a lot easier to do in other parts of the country rather than California.
Because the cost of living of
Because
everything.
Of everything, and especially real estate. It's very hard to own real estate. But I looked at my portfolio, and I had my brother was just about to sell the business properties that our family owned because my dad had retired, and he was taking over the business. Also, I looked at my properties, and I had, I think, 34 units in the San Diego area, and I thought, I had one 24-unit building and one 10-unit building, and that 24-unit building was causing me all kinds of problems, and it wasn't a very nice building, but that 10-unit building, that was nice. That was in Ocean Beach.
Okay.
That was my prize. I thought, why don't I just sell the 24-unit building, and as we're selling the commercial properties also, and pay off the 10-unit building, be debt-free.
So the
free and
10-unit
clear.
building just becomes mailbox money now.
Yes.
You pay your property taxes every year and whatever ongoing maintenance you need.
And that's,
but the rest is money.
The best
just
deal,
a paycheck.
I think the best deal in the real estate hospital is a 6 or 7% you pay a management company, a good management company.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
And
It's
also
priceless.
Own the building under some kind of a business entity without your name in it, and never talk to your tenants.
Exactly.
You don't want to know your tenants, and your tenants don't need to know who you are, because if you run them in the grocery store, you're going to get an earful of this and whatever that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so and then everything's arm's length. You don't have to evict them. You're not the one who selected. So the property management company does it all.
Exactly. So so that's what I did, and I ended up being debt free. And that's where we talked about earlier. Your dad gets smarter as you get older. My dad always told me, don't take debt. Whatever you can do, work to get out of debt. Borrowing money, because he had lived through all the Depression, World War II, and spend his life building a business, and he'd seen what happened when people get in debt underwater. And we saw that happen shortly after I did that. This was at the top of the real estate bubble, and the savings and loan stuff from the 2000s. Yeah. And shortly thereafter, everybody who was upside down on their mortgages and stuff lost all their properties. And so
the people I know that got hurt, it was all because of the debt, the amount of debt they had. They couldn't service the debt. And so at some point when your income is no longer adequate to service the debt that you need to pay, that's when you start losing everything.
Right.
If you can weather that storm, even if you have some debt, but your income exceeds that, then you just eat some ramen noodles and keep that debt going until it comes back again.
But if you remember at the time, the deal was OPM,
other people's money, which is not a bad philosophy to work with. But again, so we do that in our company, but it's all equity.
Yeah.
So we're not borrowing money from people. They are investor partners with us and equally at risk with us.
Yes.
So if it goes down, we all lose together. Now, thank God we've never lost a penny of investor capital. That doesn't mean it can never happen.
Right.
But
when people are given stated income loans that aren't accurate, or when they're taking
there was a lot of problems line of credit, going on.
Oh yeah. And people were telling me that. I had people tell me, no, you need to borrow money. You need to leverage. I'm like, I don't think so, because this can't go up forever. And sure enough, it didn't. And that's where my dad's words kind of saved me. So in that sense, that was good timing on my part. I wish I could say that I knew it was going to happen, but I didn't.
Now,
I just wasn't comfortable having that much debt, and I was in a position where I could do it. Now, not everybody can do that.
Now, here's a question where debt may come in a little handy: is you have a situation, you've got a fully paid off rent-producing building in a desirable area that probably did not lose renters, because as everything, and I don't know that for sure, but I'm thinking as people lost jobs in other areas, what they did was they moved closer to the job centers into more desirable areas as prices came down a little bit. They didn't have to go 90 minutes away from the city to live in a house. They moved back into the city, right? Because they don't need to. If they lose a house anyways, you might have moved into an apartment closer to work, and you don't commute anymore, right? Ocean Beach is one of those areas that will always have a demand.
Yes.
It's California, close to the beach, real estate, in one of the most beautiful cities anywhere in the world.
Right.
And it's a great lifestyle. So I would imagine no matter where things go, that's one of the last places people would stop wanting to live.
Well, yeah, it's possible. But when I first moved to San Diego in the late 70s, Ocean Beach was not somewhere you wanted to be. But so I suppose
it got to become a little run down is the problem.
Yeah. I suppose a lot, and that's a lot of the older areas of San Diego that were like that when I first moved here are, I guess they call it gentrifying. They're becoming the chic places to live. So I don't know. I don't know what the formula on that is. It seems I don't know if it's one place goes up like that.
Generally in California, the closer you are to the water, the better your real estate. That's the location right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, at one point it wasn't a desirable place. So I suppose it could, just depending.
Yeah.
But some of the decisions we're making here in California,
it might go the other way.
It could very easily go the other way.
Yeah, it could. And that's unfortunate. If you end up with a homeless encampment next door or something like that.
Exactly.
But my question was going to be, okay, so you pay off, you've got this performing 10-unit building that's paid off, and it's a downturn now. So then can you take the income that's coming in from that's pretty solid, and that's not going anywhere probably, and you can then borrow some money at the lowest point in the market to go buy something else, knowing that it's going to be going back up again. Because at some point you realize it can't go down much more than this. And then now as the market comes up, it increases in value, and now you've got both a appreciation and you've got another rent-producing asset.
Right.
Is that a strategy that works, or do you just want to avoid that debt?
I always avoid that. I'm sure it's a strategy that works. And that, again, that's what everyone was encouraging at that point. But
not over leveraging. Because as long as you don't over leverage. Here's the thing: you have a rent-free, a debt-free building that's paying rent, so that will cover. You're not covering the debt on that building, that can cover the debt of the other building as long as it's lower than your income.
And I think a lot of it depends on what that paid-off building is. If that's your income,
because you buy it low, then it's a lower payment, right? So let's say you buy a fourplex or something like that, and you can get and with the money coming from the building, you don't need a lot of debt, and you can service that debt.
Right. Unless you're using all the income from that paid-off building as your personal income.
Well, if you're living on it, that's true.
Yeah, if you're living on it. So, which is a big part of my income.
Okay.
I've tried to stay completely away from debt. Like I said, I'm a Dave Ramsey disciple. But you could do it that way. And like I said, California real estate, every time I think it can't go any higher, it goes higher.
Well, even when they tell you everybody's leaving, everybody's bailing out of California, so it's all going to die. Well, that's interesting because the prices keep going up, the supply keeps shrinking, and the demand keeps growing.
Drive around here, and all you see is new construction, home construction.
Well, California actually had the highest number of construction-related jobs in January that were increased, new construction-related jobs. Beat every other state in the country for the state that's theoretically emptying out. But what you find is it's not really emptying out. It's an exchange program. There's people leaving California for Texas and Florida and Arizona, places like that. But there's other people from those areas and from outside the country moving in. And the birth rate is still a thing too.
Yeah, I do know that there is a big foreign market in here. And there's also a lot of institutional purchasing of houses.
There is a lot of that. We're going to have to take another short break. When we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Joel Fieri. We've been talking about his experience in the real estate market in Southern California going back into the mid-'80s. I'm Steve Matley on Building Solid Foundations. We'll be right back right after this on KCAA.
Fire Up Connect is the most innovative business networking group, supporting and collaborating with a dozen of small businesses that are interested in building and establishing strong business connections. Hosting educational live seminars while carrying out business and community-driven projects, as well as marketing programs as a part of its membership program. Fire Up Connect also offers virtual assistance with a wide range of services including inbound customer support, chat support, appointment setting and email management, graphic designing, video editing, web design and development, social media marketing, e-commerce solution, content writing and much more. For more information, head on over to www.fireupconnect.com. Fire Up Connect, helping success stories unfold every day.
Real men of real estate.
Men of Real Estate radio show here on KCAA.
Boats, mortgages can be purchased.
All of us want to live in thriving communities.
Basically, go to the radio station, KCAA radio.com.
You can find us on your dial at 102.3 FM, 1050 AM, as well as 106.5 FM.
Foundations Radio.
Hi, this is Jim McLaughlin with Effective Action Consulting, and I've been a member of Fire Up Connect for, probably 3 years now. And what I really like about Fire Up Connect is the unique model that we go through, that we follow, the agenda, so to speak, in the meeting that really has us get engaged and involved with each other in the meetings. It's not that we're individuals, it's that we're all really working together to better ourselves, our businesses, and the community through the projects that we work on. So I'm really grateful to have the opportunity to network with people in this environment, and it's really impacted my business in a big way. So take a look.
Welcome back to Building Solid Foundations. I'm your host, Steve Matley. We are in the studio today with Joel Fieri. He is the president and owner of North County Media Center, and he has background in real estate investing in Southern California for over 35 years. We've been sharing some of those experiences. Now, Joel, your studio that you own right now, that is also real estate investment, is it not?
It is. It is. And that story comes... I got married late in life, my late 40s.
Okay.
Married a widow. We were matched up online, of all things. eHarmony, thank you very much. So I moved up to North San Diego County. I was attending a church up here, a large church, and they were in the building we're in right now.
Okay.
And so I was volunteering with them. They built a new church and moved about a mile away, and I was helping them with their printing business, or their printing operation that they had. And I'm really trained as a printer. My vocation is actually printing, photography, that sort of thing.
Not printing money.
No, but I do know some people that are serving time.
So you're doing print media for flyers and postcards and
T-shirts,
booklets
yes,
and
things
everything
like that.
Yeah,
Right.
okay.
And so I was I always brokered. I taught that in high school, actually. I was a vocational ed teacher, junior high and high school. In my bio mentions that I was a secondary ed teacher.
That's right.
And so that's my background, and I was helping them in that sense. Well, they, speaking of timing in real estate, right around 2010, 2011, they moved to a new building, and they pretty much own most of this business park, very large church. And so I came to them with the idea, say, why don't I'm going to buy a building anyways, and I broker T-shirts for my clients. Why don't I help you print your T-shirts, because they printed a lot. It's a very large church. And I can help you with yours, and then I can service my clients out of it. And they said, well, why don't you just buy our building? Because we can't sell it. These buildings, that was a time where it was a really down time for real estate, and they couldn't find a buyer for it. And I said, no, I'm not buying any more buildings. I'm done. I've got my little gym down at Ocean Beach, and I've got the house. And they said, well, we'll sell it to you for this amount, and we'll rent from you for 2 years.
So you've got a built-in guaranteed client for 24 months.
For 24 months.
That you know is going to perform.
That I know is going to perform. And I said, I guess I'm buying another building, because I'm Italian. When they make you an offer you can't refuse.
That's right.
When to take it. So I did. I started printing T-shirts in this building, but there was a little green screen that the church had used. It was a pioneer in video of churches. You go to a lot of churches now and everything's on video. Well, this church was kind of the pioneer of that. And there was a little green screen that they used in my print shop, basically. And they were storing stuff in the rest of the building, and I was printing T-shirts. And I looked at that and I thought, that's video. I have a photography background, but not video. So I called a friend of mine who was doing a little TV show, and I said, do you want to come up and use it? And he did, and we started doing videos. And then the church let go of their video guy, the guy who pioneered video, and he came in and started directing. And he looked at me. The story of this building is he looked at me after he was done producing this video, and he said, I love the vision you have for this place, for this building. And I went,
what vision is that?
What? Would you mind telling me that? Because I don't know what you're talking about, but I did know what he was talking about. Because in the back of my mind, I thought, I've always been a kind of guy I've been a kind of a talk radio guy, and a guy who's said, hey, we need to talk about things. Right. The things are going on, especially in the Christian world. And so a couple other people, my wife included, said, you need to go video. Look what you have there. Look at the possibilities that you have there. And some other people that I respected. And my wife also said, I'm tired of cleaning ink off your clothes. So, and my back was not doing very good at lifting T-shirt boxes. So eventually I ended up clearing out all the print shop material.
Church was out of luck on printing T-shirts after that?
Pretty much, yeah. So I just set them up with someone real good. But we ended up putting in, we now call Studio A, which is our main studio.
Right.
And we have kind of taken over, the church took all their stuff out, and we kind of, our enterprise, North County Media Center, eventually took over the whole building. We now have 4 studios, including this brand new podcast studio that we built last year. And yeah, that's kind of the short version of the story. There's a lot goes with it.
But what that did was then that it wasn't just a real estate investment, that bought you another business to run.
It did.
Yes.
It did. And like I said, I'm not a video guy.
Right.
But that's kind of my advantage, because I didn't know what I couldn't do. And I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I'm smart enough to know that when you don't know what you're doing, hire people who do.
Absolutely.
And listen to them. Don't be so focused, and myopic on your vision that you could only see what you want to do.
Right. Steve Jobs had a famous quote where he says, we don't hire people to tell them what to do. We hire people so they can tell us what to do.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And so the video producer that came from the church, named Jefferson, you know him very well.
Right.
Jefferson Drexler. And
he's going to be on our show the next week or two, actually.
Oh, there you go. Well, he'll tell you his version of the story, but it's basically same thing. I would always look at Jefferson and say, hey, we have an opportunity to do this. We had started a podcast network here of our own. I said, we have the opportunity, we have the resources. Is there any reason we shouldn't pursue it? And if he said, no, I can't think of a reason, I said, well, it's an open door. We should go through it. What do you need from me? And I'll make it happen. And I'll, again, not everything worked.
Right.
Not every door we went through was profitable, but we eventually made our way.
And you work through it. Sometimes it's the idea wasn't right. Sometimes it's the people involved in executing the idea aren't the right people on that particular project. And there's different things you work through.
Yeah.
And you find out, okay, this was a plus, this was a minus.
Yeah.
And one thing I've learned, because my business is project based. We're real estate, but we're doing development type projects. I've learned that one of the biggest benefits to that is that unlike a manufacturing operation, like doing you just keep doing the same thing over and over again every day, or a bank or something like that. Projects have finite starts and stops, and media production is project based. You're doing individual projects all the time, right? So that's the great thing, and that means if something's not working out well, there's going to be an end point, and maybe you take some lumps and a little pain in it, but it's done. We do the next thing, and we learned a lot of lessons from it. But one of the biggest benefits I've learned is I can make a pretty good list of the people that I will always want to work with again, and probably a larger list of people that I don't ever want to work with again.
Right. We've been pretty fortunate here. And a big part of this is show business. I mean, we deal with show business people. It's tough. There are some flaky people out there, and some not so nice people. We've been pretty fortunate, pretty blessed. I could probably name on the fingers of one hand the people that I won't work with over the last 12 years. For the most part, we've had good clients, such as yourself, who see the value of what we do here, are willing to pay that value to us, and we're willing to give you the value you pay for. Most of our clients here have been that way. We have a lot of producers that come back time and time again because they know we'll give them good service. We won't nickel and dime them to death. We won't, because
they need a lot of studios, and they'll quote you a price.
Yeah.
And then you wanted a light. You wanted to use our bathroom when you were here. Okay, so
you ate some of the mixed nuts. That's right.
Exactly. Yeah, and they start dinging you for everything. Yeah. Oh, you wanted to use the mixer? Okay, we're going to charge you for that.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And we don't. We just made a point. And most of the people we've had testimonials done. Video testimonials done, and invariably they mention the staff at North County Media Center. And I think it's a good break from that world because show business can be tough, and it's tough because there's always the wild card of either the client or the talent. There's always drama somewhere.
It is entertainment. Yes,
it is entertainment.
Drama's half the deal. Drama and comedy, right? That's what they are.
Steve, I work with a lot of creative, artistic types, and they're great. They are very creative and they're wonderful people. But if I'm not, I have a certain amount of creativity and artistic, instincts, but that's not my strength.
Right.
My strength is I make sure the lights are on, and the person who
somebody has to run the business.
Yeah, the person who reserved it for that day gets it that day or whatever. If some of the artistic people ran this place, it would have been on the ground 2-3 years ago, before, or 2-3 years after it started. But that's my job. My job is to basically allocate the resources when they're needed, where they're needed, to whom they're needed, and smooth out any conflicts that come. And that's my role of leadership around here.
Yeah. So we're gonna take a break in just another minute or so here, but I've seen the stuff you do here is there's podcasts, there's regular television shows, talk shows, movies being shot here. There's news segments being shot here. There is just a little bit of everything.
Yeah, mostly corporate videos is another big. People don't realize how big corporate video is, but that's probably our main.
Now, are those training videos? Are those website videos?
You name it.
Name it. Okay.
Webinars,
advertising.
Yes.
Okay.
Advertising.
Yeah, and I know that you've done during the pandemic. I know that the producer of this show had used your TV studio because a live event couldn't be a live event, so they did it through multimedia.
Yes.
And everybody's tuned in on Zoom or whatever, and they were able to pull off that event with a series of speakers. Yes.
Well, first of all, I declared myself essential at the beginning of all that, and we stayed open. And Jefferson, my producer, had perfected his streaming model that came just at the right. We were at the right place at the right time, and we did pretty well with streaming, live streaming. for, like I said, corporate people who used to go to live events the corporations would have. They stopped having those, and everybody started streaming online, and we were right there when we needed to be.
Great.
So
we're going to take another short break. We are talking to Joel Fieri. He is the president and owner of North County Media Center in Vista, California, and a real estate investor going back into the mid-'80s. I'm your host, Steve Matley. I'm Building Solid Foundations. We'll be right back after this short break. Don't go anywhere.
Fire Up Connect is the most innovative business networking group, supporting and collaborating with a dozen of small businesses that are interested in building and establishing strong business connections, hosting educational live seminars while carrying out business and community-driven projects, as well as marketing programs as a part of its membership program. Fire Up Connect also offers virtual assistance with a wide range of services including inbound customer support, chat support, appointment setting and email management, graphic designing, video editing, web design and development, social media marketing, e-commerce solution, content writing and much more. For more information, head on over to www.fireupconnect.com. Fire Up Connect, helping success stories unfold every day.
Real men of real estate.
Men of Real Estate radio show here on KCAA.
Boats, mortgages can be purchased.
All of us want to live in thriving communities.
Basically, go to the radio station KCAA radio.com.
You can find us on your dial at 102.3 FM, 1050 AM, as well as 106.5 FM.
This is Steve Matley. Join me every Thursday at 3 p.m. right here on KCAA for Building Solid Foundations radio talk show. I spent decades as a professional construction manager, business owner, real estate developer, and a college educator, and I enjoy learning new things from other people. We talk a lot about real estate, business, and finance, but we cover a diverse range of other topics as well. Some of the topics we've discussed in the past few months include real estate investing, leadership, higher education, ADUs, marketing using technology, multifamily rental properties, business strategy, entrepreneurship. You never know who may show up or what they may talk about. So join us right here on KCAA for Building Solid Foundations Radio.
Hi, this is Jim McLaughlin with Effective Action Consulting, and I've been a member of Fire Up Connect for, probably 3 years now. And what I really like about Fire Up Connect is the unique model that we go through, that we follow, the agenda, so to speak, in the meeting that really has us get engaged and involved with each other in the meetings. It's not that we're individuals, it's that we're all really working together to better ourselves, our businesses, and the community through the projects that we work on. So I'm really grateful to have the opportunity to network with people in this environment, and it's really impacted my business in a big way. So take a look.
Welcome back to Building Solid Foundations. I'm your host, Steve Matley. We are wrapping up with Joel Fieri. He is the president of North County Media Center and the owner. Also owns the building as well as part of his real estate portfolio. He is a real estate investor as well. And the last three segments, we kind of recounted his journey through that and then getting in North County Media Center. Right before the break, we were talking about some of the many types of productions and presentations that happen at the studio. Now, I also remember, and we don't think of studios as event spaces, but I do remember doing an event. Now, this was an event to celebrate a television show that had a milestone episode or something like that, or 1 year anniversary, maybe, I think is what it was.
Yeah.
I think it was Finest Women in Real Estate. And so we actually used your Studio A at, like you would use the meeting room at a hotel or something like that.
Right.
We used it for that event, but it was also, we did a panel discussion that we televised and did the whole thing.
Right.
But it actually worked out really well for that purpose. And if you, want to do a live event, but you want very much the audio visual component in there to either broadcast or for archiving, it's a great way to do it. It's a good idea, and it holds quite a few people in there. So.
Yeah, it does. And that's business today. You can't just, video is everything in business today. You have to have some kind of media presence and media presentation for people. That's just the world we live in.
That's right.
So.
Yeah, it's everywhere, and video kind of rules the world. Obviously, podcasts they basically made a resurgence of the old school radio.
Right.
It's a new, different version of it, and radio's still on. We're on KCAA, which is great, and I like that being on a. I find that being on an actual radio station, especially a network affiliated radio station, brings a little more, I guess, prestige, credibility, validation, I guess, to the show, as opposed to just doing this flat out podcast and streaming, because all that I can do myself.
Yeah,
right?
something about a voice coming to you in your car just gives you that.
Well, and a third party, it's like the difference between self-publishing on Amazon, which is great, versus having Penguin Publishing pick up your book and put it out there.
Yeah.
A third party thought you were worth their limited resources to put you out there, right? They only have 24 hours a day of airtime, and they thought, okay, you're worth an hour of our time. And I think that's very validating for the show. And it tells me that we must be doing something right to have the quality for that. Sure. So that's one reason we do that. I do know that the podcast is much larger listener base nowadays than the traditional radio. But it's not just voice. It is video. Yeah. I personally kind of like the idea of it being just voice, because I look a lot better on podcast and radio.
You have a great face for radio.
That's right.
The old saying goes.
Exactly. So
I don't know, you and I are kind of the same mold here.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it has to be on video, because it goes streaming services are a lot of this nowadays. And even when people check out podcasts, a lot of times they learn about them on like YouTube or something like that, or on Instagram, and it's video.
Yeah, and we were talking about before we went on the air. People today, and this is what through the podcasting, when we started podcasting, it was just audio podcasting.
That's right.
And then about 5 years in, video became the thing.
And mostly because of social media.
Right. And we went through several iterations, high production value. And pretty soon we realized what people want is they want to hear someone telling the truth. And all they want to see is that person sitting there with a microphone. There's something about it that gives them credibility and telling them what they think or the truth about whatever it is, be it business or real estate or politics or faith or whatever it is. That's what people want. There's a hunger for that. And they'll tune in to see guys like you and me in front of a microphone. We're on the radio now, but we've got cameras all over the room, right?
Yeah, we do. Exactly. And after the radio, it's going to be on the podcast platforms. It's going to be on the streaming platforms.
And people will tune in.
Go out on social media. It goes everywhere.
Yeah.
And the other weird thing is, it's not like the single source where we're going to track our listener or viewership based on this one outlet. You have to add all of it up to figure out what your reach is, and it's all over the place. And some may be small, some may be large, but you never know which one of those might be where your most loyal fans are, or those listeners. You don't know.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I don't even worry about the metrics, I guess. I mean, it's nice to know that somebody's listening, but the truth is that I don't worry about it too much, because it's just too much to track. We're on, a couple of dozen podcast platforms.
Right.
We're on, the Building Solid Foundation channel, but it's on 3 different streaming platforms.
Right.
All the majors. I'm not on Apple only because we haven't done it yet, because Apple doesn't play nice with other children. They never have. They're great, and the Apple people that are very loyal to Apple, it's great, but it's a different way of getting on. There's just a little more expense to get that done, a few more hoops to jump through to get the app onto the Apple Store.
Yeah.
And they're actually a much smaller percentage of the streaming service. Roku is like almost 40% of the streaming service out there in the market.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
No, we've done, and we've had a lot of clients in here with Roku channels.
That's right.
Doing podcasts and doing shows. But you do have to have good content. You have to know what you're talking about. And you have to,
Yeah, the market is cluttered. Podcasting and streaming is just cluttered with the, what I call cell phone on the kitchen table production.
Right.
Or the basement production. And everybody and their grandma can do it. And that's okay. There's probably a lot of good messages out there, but the poor production quality is hard to get through, I think, on some of that.
Yeah, and it's funny, but video professionals will tell you they're very frustrated at the amount of poor production quality that is out there when they've trained all their lives to give good quality. There's a difference between what our producer is doing here. We're going to have good look, as good as you and I could look,
right.
And good sound and good video quality. But you see it all the time. Guys doing podcasts driving their car with their,
yeah.
their you know,
Well, and
their
also
GoPro on their mirror or whatever, or your bad sound with someone with a green face and you're looking right up their nose. That people will watch that, but it's just a matter of how you want to come across. Do you want to come across as professional? Do you want to come across looking good and sounding good? That makes a difference. It
Yeah,
does.
I just judge it on what would I tune into and what would I kind of go, and kind of turn it off. And of course, with the studio, that's why I use the studio. I want a better quality that I can get doing a home-based production. Right. And it also allows me to have a professional sound engineer and videographer that comes in, editor.
That's why you're our favorite.
He's never on camera. He's over there in the booth. Yeah. Does an excellent job. Jonathan's great. Yeah, so
that's why you're our favorite client, Steve.
But that's why I do that, to kind of just make it a better quality, something I'd want to watch and listen to.
Exactly.
So we're about out of time, Joel. I want to thank you for being on the show, Joel Fieri of North County Media Center. I encourage you, if you're anywhere in Southern California and you need media type services, radio, video, audiovisual, corporate videos, sales videos, webinars, seminars, whatever you need.
Roku channels.
Yeah, you'll find out it's more cost effective than you think, easier to access, and takes a lot of stress off your plate. So this is building solid foundations. Oh, by the way, what's your website, Joel?
It is northcountymediacenter.com.
northcountymediacenter.com.
Pretty simple.
northcountymediacenter.com. Check them out and you can get some information. So this is Building Solid Foundations. I'm your host, Steve Matley, thanking Joel Fieri for being with us today.
You.
And until next week, go do something different.